All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Thursday. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on PTL. Broadcasting everywhere. Of course, check out the new website, which is pushingthelimits.live. We'd love you to check that out. And broadcasting on the Occupy Democrats Network, on the Washington Press Network. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on X. And we appreciate you being a part of the show. We have a big show lined up for you today. Obviously, coming up here in just a few hours, just like I said, this was the biggest debate of my lifetime, maybe one of the biggest press conferences that any president could hold, certainly the biggest press conference in Joe Biden's career, in my opinion, in just a few hours on a world stage where it's not going to be scripted and the opposition will be allowed to ask Joe Biden questions, again, unscripted. This could be the last, in my opinion, the last opportunity for Joe Biden to really prove to some people in this country that he's fit for another 4 years. So my understanding is they pushed the press conference back. Originally, it was Eastern time, 5:30. Now they pushed it back to 6:30, which is, of course, 3:30 our time here on the West Coast. And my eyes are going to be glued to the television. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be watching this. And perfect day to have this kind of guest on the show. He is second in command when it comes to the press secretary's job. He is also the Biden National Campaign Senior Spokesperson. Kevin Muñoz is going to be joining us here in just a couple minutes. A lot of questions for Kevin, and looking forward to talking to him, so you're not going to want to miss this. We'll be talking to him here in just a few. Quickly, before I get to some of the other biggest news of the day, had a chance to watch the USA basketball team play Team Canada here in Las Vegas last night. Oh, yes, there was a very special guest that walked in, none other than Barack Obama. I've met Barack Obama on a couple different occasions, but the last time I saw him in person is when he was president. I was able to ask him a few questions in a media scrum when he was running against Hillary Clinton back in the day. I've always been impressed with him. I just see this man walk into this arena, and there was not one boo. Everybody was standing up. Everybody was clapping and giving him a standing ovation. And the amazing thing to me is, you know, all these current and former players coming over and talking with with former President Barack Obama. It was special to watch, and it made me realize that's the kind of leader I want, right? That's the kind of person I want. Forget about his politics. Forget about policies you might not like. Extremely intelligent, extremely eloquent, extremely well-spoken, extremely well-liked. Do you think Donald Trump could be seen anywhere near an NBA basketball game? No way. He can go to his NASCAR events all he wants to that are 99.9% predominantly white, because that's what he means by make America great again. Barack Obama walks into an arena watching the USA basketball team prepare for the Olympics, and everybody stands up and claps, and he's welcomed by all, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. And even though I was not a George W. Bush fan, even though I do not believe he was a very good president, there was still some level of class within that family, with Laura Bush, with the family, and that when we would walk into a baseball game, or he would walk into, you know, whatever the case might be, NBA, you name it, there would be a level of respect that he would show others and that others would show him. Donald Trump is the opposite of that, and that's why I bring this up. He's the opposite of that. And you just see Barack Obama, how charismatic he is, how well-liked he was, and the respect he receives. And that's what I took away from last night. Forget about the basketball. That's what a president should look like. That's what a president should be. That's what a president, or the type of president that I want. Now, we're going to have to wait and see how this press conference goes today. As I mentioned, a very important press conference. There are a lot of Democrats out there that are worried. The Democratic Party right now is very mixed, and we're going to be playing some audio for you coming up here in a little bit after our interview to prove that to you. There are Democrats on Capitol Hill that are disagreeing with one another. While they are unified and they will all be voting against Donald Trump, I don't think there's any debate about that. They are still mixed, I guess you could say. That would probably be the best word on whether Joe Biden should be the guy or not. Perhaps, and I say perhaps, this press conference today could change some of their minds, could change my mind, could change others' mind. We will see. But these are very strange times we're living in where we're 4 months before an election, and you have some members of the Democrat Party saying that the current president who's running for reelection should step down. I don't think we've ever, at least in my lifetime, been in a situation like this before. And that's why I say this is such an important press conference coming up here in just a few hours. And that's why I try to give you my honest opinions on this show every day. I'm not here to make everybody happy. Yes, I am very anti-Donald Trump. I want to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get back into the White House. But with that being said, if people on the left are making mistakes, I'm certainly going to point that out, and I'm going to call it out. You know, I complain all the time, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well, with right-wing radio, with idiots like Mark Levin, Sean Hannity's of the world, the Laura Ingrams of the world. You can watch Newsmax 24/7. If it was torture, I would call it. They are all completely one-sided. They won't call out Donald Trump for anything. Joe Biden's been roughed up by the media the last couple weeks. MSNBC, CNN. But if you look at any of the right-wing entities like Fox News, OAN, or Newsmax, they won't criticize Donald Trump for anything because they're all pathetic. We've had honest journalists that have criticized Joe Biden and his campaign staffers on MSNBC, on CNN, and other networks that some might say lean to the left. Because that's real journalism, and that's honesty, and that's being intellectually honest. Nobody on Fox News, nobody on OAN, nobody on Newsmax hardly ever will criticize Donald Trump for anything. And that is the distinction, because all you people on the far right, you want to say the left-wing media, it's fake news, it's fake news. Well, whatever happened to those conversations about Jake Tapper and how he was going to be so unfair and biased towards Joe Biden and Dana Bash? Did they retract? Did they apologize? Of course they didn't. It's the bias on the far right. They are the fake news here. And while there are entities on the left that are biased as well, I appreciate honesty. And Joe Biden has been hammered the last couple weeks. Have they ever done that to Donald Trump on the right-wing media, on Fox News? No, they continue to lie for him. They continue to lie about the crowds. They continue to lie about the 2020 election. They continue to lie about what we know now is a 34-count felon. They attack judges. They attack our DOJ. It can't be Donald Trump's fault. And I am sick of it. But I do have criticisms for the Joe Biden campaign. And coming up next, scheduled, is the Biden National Campaign Senior Spokesperson, Kevin Muñoz, is going to be joining us on the show. And I'll ask him about this press conference coming up here later today. Does he agree the importance of this press conference and more? So we'll take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Very busy news day and a very big press conference coming up here for the President of the United States on a world stage. And I said to myself, what better time to speak to someone from the Joe Biden camp? And the guy joining us right now, he is the Biden National Campaign Senior Spokesperson. He is Kevin Muñoz, who joins us right now live on PTL. Mr. Munoz, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, my friend. How are you?
I'm happy to be here. How are we doing?
Doing good. Thanks so much for joining us. Would you agree with that to start, that this is, at least at a minimum, a very important press conference for Joe Biden? Is that a fair statement to make?
Yeah, look, every single day that we get closer to the November election is an important day for Joe Biden. It's important that he's out on the campaign trail like he is tomorrow in Michigan. It's important that he is talking to elected officials, talking to mayors, talking to his donors. And tonight is another important moment where he can talk about the issues that matter most to our voters.
Fair to say. And listen, to be fair, I'm not a journalist. I'm a talk show host. I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. If he indeed is the man who will be against Donald Trump, I will be voting for him again. So I'm on your side. With that being said, I do have a few questions for you. First of all, as you know, there are concerns out there. There are concerns about his health. I, for one, am one that is a little bit concerned. So I want to ask you this. If, in fact, the debate night was a bad night, which I'm willing to admit, we all have bad nights. I'm willing to agree with that. If he wasn't feeling good, why was he out till 2 o'clock in the morning? Would you say that's maybe bad judgment for some of the people that were around him?
Look, I mean, I don't know how much you know about Joe Biden, but he gets more energy than anybody. Oh, wow. That was, I don't know.
That's okay. Go right ahead. It's okay.
I don't know if you know him, but few people get as much energy as he does by being with voters, talking to folks. So look, the president's the first person to admit the debate was not his best performance. And that's why the next day he was out there in North Carolina talking to the voters that will decide this election. It is why he has been more than transparent about the fact that he wants to make sure that he is creating a campaign and doing the work on the ground that is going to help, reach the voters that matter most here. But our view is that every day that we relitigate one debate night, we are failing to talk about what is the most terrifying thing in this election, which is Donald Trump and his Project 2025 agenda. We are doing a ton of work from here to really amplify how critically, important it is to engage in this election when it comes to something like Project 2025. But it's going to require Democrats to be united in this effort.
I agree with you. And I've talked about Project 2025, which is an absolute joke and a danger to the country. I am on your side, Mr. Munoz, 150% on that. But it does bring a little bit of concern, at least to, moderates and even moderate Republicans. I do want to get a statement from you on George Clooney. I mean, let's be honest. He's one of the biggest names in Hollywood. He helped raise $30 million for Joe Biden several weeks back. And you heard the comments that he made. He said that Joe Biden's not the same guy today that he was in 2020. And he actually went even further to say that that man you saw on the debate stage is the same guy I saw in that fundraiser. What is the campaign's response to what George Clooney said?
Look, I don't think I'm going to get into tit for tat with George Clooney as much as I can tell you this. When we saw that op-ed yesterday, I got plenty of unsolicited calls from donors, from supporters, from folks that have been talking to Joe Biden this week, including our country's mayors, including donors that spoke directly with the president unscripted, union members that spoke with the president this week, said this is not my experience. But look, I think the point in the question that you're asking is some folks do have concerns. I mean, Joe Biden himself have said he doesn't walk or talk the way he maybe used to. But the most important thing to our voters at the end of the day is a simple question. Can this man deliver on the issues that matter to you when you get home? Is he creating good paying jobs at home? Will he do more work to address gun violence in our communities? Will he lower prescription drug costs? And by every metric, Joe Biden is delivering, but we absolutely have to have him out there, have to have our team out there making the case. Obviously, Joe Biden's coming to Vegas next week. That is going to be one more important way that we continue to do the work, because we know the more people get to understand him and his agenda, the more they're going to like him. And we need to do that while also, again, reminding folks just how dangerous this Project 2025 agenda is today.
Absolutely, it is. And I want to see, our Vice President, Joe Biden, even talk about that more, because I'm with you on that. I didn't understand Nancy Pelosi's statements where she said that Joe Biden had not made a final decision yet. He just called into Joe Scarborough, right, Mr. Munoz? And he just said that I'm not going anywhere. What is your take on that? Why did Nancy Pelosi say that?
Yeah, look, I think the Hill is always a fascinating place to say the least, and how kind of people work the media and how we negotiate things. What I can tell you is the speaker, the president are super close. He respects her more than most. And look, I think what you're going to hear from the president, from our team, is continuing to make our case to elected officials. We're just getting off of some of our leading members of the campaign meeting with Senate members. Obviously, the president has been having conversations with Hill leadership, and I think he's going to continue to, because we know that Democrats care so much about the stakes of this election, and they have concerns. We famously are a party of many concerns, and I think we have to continue to do that work, not just one time and say we're good to go like we did on Monday, but continue to remind folks, and we did
Yeah.
this today, that every single day that we do not focus on the task at hand, which is defeating Donald Trump and talking about Donald Trump, is a day that we waste. So that's going to take time. But look, the convention for Republicans starts on Sunday, and we're going to be really aggressive on that.
Yeah, I think that's a good game plan. Again, if you're just joining us, he is Kevin Munoz. He's the Biden National Campaign Senior Spokesperson, and we appreciate him coming on. All right, so Mr. Munoz, looking forward now, let's talk a little bit about Donald Trump. I criticize Donald Trump literally on a daily basis with all the lies and the right-wing propaganda. And yes, I do believe he's a certain danger to democracy. With that being said, are you concerned about another debate? Do you want another debate? And my third part of this is, do you think Donald Trump will agree to this next debate?
Well, I'll answer the last question first. We don't know what Trump will or won't do on any given basis. He treats this election, he treats the presidency like it's a reality show. And that is one of the things that is so detestable and unlikable to undecided voters about Donald Trump. Look, the president has committed to another debate. He will be ready to go here. At the same time, I think the most important thing that we can do, and the thing that is going to move the ball with our voters, is have him out there and have our campaign and our team and the local voices that are trusted making the case every single day on the ground. Look, the debate is a high profile moment. It is a moment. It is not the moment to the very small group of undecided voters across Nevada and Arizona and the Blue Wall and North Carolina and Georgia. It's not the thing that's going to change their mind, because these are voters that are, not thinking about the election, don't really want to think about Trump or Biden just yet. And so that's why it's so important we do things like next week and have the president go into the state, figure out creative ways to talk to the backbone of the party and talk to these key voters that breaks through. Because I don't have to tell you, if this was 10 years ago, we might have had a radio interview and then a TV interview. Now we've got podcasts. Now we've got TikToks. Now we have, a more diverse Hispanic population, for example, than ever before. So we got to find different ways to break through and reach folks.
I can tell you, I think we'll agree on this. One thing Joe Biden won't be talking about here in Las Vegas is sharks, and he won't be selling Bibles, and he won't be selling gold sneakers. As I've said a million times, and I'll say again, I believe it's a cult, and I know Joe Biden won't be doing any of that stuff, and I'll probably be there to listen to him speak. What type of credence do you put in polls? I know back in 2016, almost every poll said that Hillary was going to win. We know she didn't. With that said, today, Joe Biden is trailing in a lot of different polls across the country. Obviously, things got a little worse for him after that debate. So how much credence do you put in these polls, and are you concerned about these polls?
Yeah, look, one step back, two steps back, let's say this. Poll is a snapshot in time. And so it captures a moment and it captures an attitude at one moment. And two is polling around this time of the election. It doesn't necessarily capture what we need to capture, which is how people are going to feel when the choice is cemented. And for a lot of these undecided voters, especially in a state as noisy as Nevada, they just haven't really fully come to grips with what is going to be on the ballot this November, which is Donald Trump versus Biden. At the same time, we absolutely have to look at all of the metrics that help us understand where we are and where we are not in a state. And so where we are right now, as we said in a memo from Jen O'Malley Dillon, who issued a new memo about where we are in the race to staff today, is a few points behind. What the debate did not do is fundamentally change the course of the race. We know, back when Obama had that famous first debate in 2012, the average poll had him dropping by 5 points. Not great. We're down about 2 points from where we were. And so what that tells us is, yes, it was, a setback, but it is not a setback that changes the course of this election. What
Mhm.
it tells us, and what it should send a message to every single Democrat, every single American that wants to make sure Donald Trump does not set foot ever again
Mhm.
in the White House, is that we got to put our bootstraps on and work. We got
Yeah.
to set up a system of focusing on who we are running against instead of focusing on the minutia of
Mhm.
what happened a couple of weeks ago. And
Yeah.
we know Joe Biden. Look, he won in 2020. He won by more votes than anybody in presidential history. But it is going to take a lot of time and effort and unity on our party's part to win this.
And you answered this a little bit, and this will be my last question for you, Mr. Munoz. We know that Democrats are going to be supporting Joe Biden if he's the guy. We know that people like myself, you can't find somebody more anti-Donald Trump than me. I will be supporting Joe Biden if he's the guy, which I believe he will be. However, how do you change the minds of people, even the moderate Republicans out there, that before the debate, I'm not voting for Donald Trump? I know that the former Nevada chairwoman, Amy Tarkanian, perfect example. She's anti-Donald Trump now, but she's not yet ready to vote for Joe Biden. And that debate might have skewed some people, whether that's right or wrong. How do you convince the moderate Republicans and the independents after that debate performance to vote for Joe Biden?
Look, I was just on a call with the Haley Voters Working Group, which is a national group of Nikki Haley supporters from the primary. There's some, 10 million or so Republicans that actively chose to vote for Nikki Haley instead of Donald Trump. And what that tells us is that there's tens of millions of Republicans out there that understand that they want a candidate that will put country over party. And look, it was a hard conversation. And that is all about, this is what this campaign is about: doing the hard work, showing up in places, even if it's not a comfortable one, and making the case for our guy. And what I told them is what I'll tell you, which is it is not enough for us to not be Donald Trump. We have to make our case every single day. And on the issues that matter most to Republicans, when we think about what today is, the 75th anniversary of NATO, look at what Joe Biden has done to strengthen NATO and make sure that our allies are paying their fair share. And look where Donald Trump is on this. Look at the issue of border security and where the American people are. They want action. They don't want what Donald Trump is promising, which is just more chaos at the border. And look at when it comes to our fundamental rights. We have a great story to tell on how Joe Biden is going to stay out of your business and Donald Trump wants government intervention on everything from whom you can love and what healthcare decisions women can make. This is hard work, and it is going to take us showing up, making these conversations happen. We have a national Republican outreach director, and a huge piece of his job is making these connections in states like Nevada, making these connections in states like Arizona, where we can build an ambassadorship across the state with local voices that can make our case for them.
Before I let you go, have you guys announced exactly where Joe Biden will be speaking in Las Vegas next
Stay
week?
tuned. He's doing Unidos, and he's doing the NAACP, and there's a couple surprises on the way. So stay tuned.
Well, I look forward to that, and then hopefully we can meet you out there. And Mr. Munoz, I do appreciate you taking the time. We'd love to have you on again down the road. I think I'm probably the only radio political talk show in Las Vegas that is very anti-Donald Trump. So obviously we'd love to have you guys back on, and I really do appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you. You too. That is Kevin Munoz, the Joe Biden National Campaign Senior Spokesperson. Listen, he's a very polished guy, very intelligent guy, very well-spoken. Not going to get an argument for me when it comes to the agenda of Joe Biden and policy. I agree with the agenda for the most part. Don't agree with everything, but for the most part, I agree with Joe Biden and the agenda. And I agree with, he's been a good president. He's accomplished a lot in 3.5 years. You're not going to get an argument from me there. My only concern at this point is what I think a lot of us are concerned about is that debate performance. And is this Joe Biden, or is that just a one-off? And, I think the press conference this afternoon will perhaps answer some of those questions, because it's not scripted, because the opposition, Fox News, Newsmax, those idiots, yes, I do think they're idiots. I think Peter Doocy's an idiot. They're going to try to get Joe Biden in gotcha questions, maybe, but it's how Joe Biden handles those questions that's going to be extremely important this afternoon. So we appreciate Kevin Munoz joining us on the show, and hopefully he'll come back on. I was actually unaware that Joe Biden was going to be in town next week, so hopefully we can cover some of those events. Look, I'm not making this stuff up. there are a lot of people on the fence there, Democrats that are disagreeing with one another. Yes, the majority of those that are in office, at least publicly, have not said they want Joe Biden to step down. But there are still a lot of people on both sides that are giving differences of opinions. And I'm going to play you kind of a montage right now of exactly that, which is House Democrats, some saying, well, Joe Biden's our guy. We need to stand by him. He's the man. And then there are a few others that are saying the contrary to that. And then there are some people that are in the middle. So have a listen to this.
In this race, the matter is closed. Joe Biden is our nominee.
Biden's the man the voters chose to be our nominee.
Do you support him?
He already won the nomination, so if there were to be any change, it would have to come from him.
My statement speaks for itself.
I support President Joe Biden and the Democratic ticket.
I have people waiting for me, and I'm in trouble.
It's a simple yes or no, sir.
Thank you.
The president made very clear yesterday that he's running, and for me that's dispositive. We have to support him.
If the president declines to leave voluntarily, then he's going to be our nominee.
And if the judgment is run, then run hard and beat that SOB.
A lot of folks are raising some questions they need to get asked, but at the end of the day, we got to beat Donald Trump.
I think that there are changes that people need to see to continue to feel comfortable.
We may not be the Lord Almighty calling from on high. We have to have our strongest candidate.
I think he should step aside. Step down and let someone else do this.
Face the facts, be willing to make a change, and ensure that we can defeat Donald Trump in November.
We are 100% with the president.
Hell, I'm older than Biden.
Joe Biden will be reelected, and we're going to take the House.
So he can do this for 4 more years after what you saw in the debate.
Yes.
There is only one person in the country that's ever kicked Trump's ass in an election, and that is your president.
Great sadness that we are not having a conversation about the fact that we have 2 people running for president. One of them has a record that anybody would be proud to have, and the other one is an adjudicated rapist, a twice impeached convicted felon.
Okay, so you got a mixed bag there. Most of the Democrats, elected officials, are pro-Joe Biden. And I would think everybody that you heard in those clips will be voting for Joe Biden if he's the guy because, like myself, anti-Donald Trump. But there are still Democrats in office that are not agreeing with one another on whether Joe Biden should step down or not. One of those that is certainly 100% all in on Joe Biden's side is Mr. Fetterman. And he was asked about Nancy Pelosi's comments. Listen, I got to be honest with you. I'm getting kind of sick of Nancy Pelosi. You know, Joe Biden calls into Joe Scarborough and says very adamantly that he's the guy and he's not going anywhere. And then the next day, Nancy Pelosi says, well, Joe Biden hasn't made a final decision yet. Well, which one is it? That's mixed messaging within the Democrat Party. But Mr. Fetterman was asked about that, about Nancy Pelosi's comments, and here's what he had to say about it.
Was it helpful for Nancy Pelosi today to suggest that the president has not made a final decision on running yet?
Well, it's been very clear. He said it. I'm in. It's closed. It's a strange thing for her to say.
Yeah, I completely agree with Fetterman. It is a strange thing for her to say. I don't know why she said it. I think she needs to shut her trap and stay out of it. Democrat out of Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal, had this to say about the situation.
I am deeply concerned about Joe Biden winning this November because it is an existential threat to the country if Donald Trump wins. So I think that we have to reach a conclusion as soon as possible.
All right. Well, I hopefully a conclusion was made already. My understanding is that it was, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Again, mixed messaging within the Democrat Party. We heard what Joe Biden said. He's the guy. He's not going anywhere. He's in it to win it. If that's the case, then why is Nancy Pelosi making statements like that? Why is Richard Blumenthal making statements like that? I think that's a very fair question to ask. Senator Tim Kaine is another guy. He once ran as vice president. Tim Kaine is another guy who's all in with Joe Biden. Here's what he had to say.
I have complete confidence that Joe Biden will do the patriotic thing for the country, and he's going to make that decision. He's never disappointed me. He's always put patriotism and the country ahead of himself, and I'm going to respect the decision that he makes.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 4 months out. If Joe Biden is the guy, which I do believe he is, then the Democrat Party must unite behind him, regardless of what I think, regardless of what you think, regardless as if you think that, Kamala Harris should be the person in charge. We all have different opinions on that, and I've gone over them ad nauseum, right? I'm not going to continue to reiterate that unless something changes my mind, and I do think that this press conference this afternoon can do that. We will see how it goes. But with that being said, yes, I agree. A decision has to be made if it hasn't already been made, even though Joe Biden said it's been made. Why are all these Democrats claiming it hasn't been made? Mixed messaging within the Democrat Party 4 months before an election is not going to get them anywhere. Number to call if you want to be a part of the show is 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. We had Joe Biden's national campaign senior spokesperson, Kevin Munoz, who just joined us on the show. I asked him all those questions. I asked him if Joe Biden was feeling sick and he wasn't well the night of the debate, why did you guys allow him out till 2 o'clock in the morning? I think that's a very fair question. I'm not sure if I got a direct answer on that one, but you guys can be the judge of that. He makes very valid points when it comes to policy. I'm on their side. When it comes to policy, when it comes to Joe Biden's agenda compared to Donald Trump and Project 2025 and all these right-wing idiots out there that want to say that Donald Trump has nothing to do with Project 25, and when Trump says he doesn't know anything about it, he's a liar. It's a joke. All these close people around Donald Trump have been the ones who have put together Project 2025. It's nonsense. They want to ban abortion across the country. There's so many crazy things in Project 2025. You're going to tell me that Donald Trump isn't partly behind this? Give me a break. All the people that are around Donald Trump have put this whole thing together. It's a joke. It's a joke. And you want to talk about douchebag Republicans, I got some audio to play for you. We'll play it here in a little bit. Josh Hawley, the guy who, went like this and then ran like a little girl on January 6th. We'll play that a little bit later for you. But I did promise we would get to the phone calls, so I will do that now at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you do want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Your thoughts on my interview with Joe Biden's national campaign senior spokesperson, Kevin Munoz. Let's start off with Vivian. Vivian is first up on PTL. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. What's on your mind?
Okay, this is the way I feel. I feel as if the people who are upset in the Democrats are upset because they thought they was going to ride on the coattails of Biden going to office and they wouldn't have to work. Now they have to go to their states, and they're going to have to actually work for the vote. They're going to have to actually talk to the people. They're going to have to actually tell the people to accept them and accept Biden and accept the agenda that they have instead of just bickering between each other. They should just stop this because the concentration should be on what Trump is doing, what Trump is saying, and what his administration will do for us. Not Biden is helping us all out.
Okay,
well, I don't understand.
Fair enough. I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, but let me ask you a very simple question. Do you believe that Joe Biden's health is not an issue and that can you picture him being the president of the United States 3.5 years from now? Do you think mentally he will be equipped and physically he will be equipped enough to be the president of the United States after what you've seen the last several weeks?
I think that there is some slowing down due to age. There's no doubt about that. But with the help of his administration, I think he can pull through because the presidency is just part of it. What you have behind you, he has all these strong people behind him that can help. And they're the one helping with finding out everything that we need to do for this country. Yeah. And he's like the signer of whatever it is, but they're helping.
Yeah, no, listen, I understand where you're coming from, Vivian. And by the way, it's good to hear from you, and I appreciate the call. Yes, you're right. Joe Biden has a lot of competent people around him. I agree with you 150% on that. But there is a but in there. Do you want somebody that we have to pull through, to get through? That's the question. Again, I agree with you. A lot of good people around Joe Biden, people that will, help pull through, as you said, the agenda, which for the most part I agree with. But is that a president that we want where we hope he pulls through or we hope people around him pull him through? I'm not so sure that's what I want. Now, I'll take that in a heartbeat over Donald Trump. In a heartbeat. I've made that very clear on this show. But I think that's a very fair question, and I also believe that the press conference in a couple hours maybe it'll change some minds. I hope he does a good job. Thank you, Vivian. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tom. Tom is next up on PTL. Hi, Tom. What's going on, man?
Hi, Brian. Tom from Syracuse. Great interview. I really appreciate your interviewing skills. You're almost like our pal Howard, but not quite there. But
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are a very good interviewer.
Thank you.
But a couple things on this. I've been in do you remember the teeter-totters? I'm a little bit older than you are, but remember when we got on them as kids?
Yes, I do.
How they go back and forth. Well, I've been on a teeter-totter with this Joe Biden, whether he should run or not.
Right.
And yesterday I had to make a decision. I sort of forced myself to finally make a decision because I don't want to be going on like this forever. And I had to come down on the side of, no, he shouldn't. Somebody else should. I'd be okay with Kamala Harris, but like you, there are other ones out there that would be probably in a better position. But I don't think your question to the last caller was, will he be able in 4 years? And I have to say, from what I've seen, I would say no. I don't want him making decisions on national security, maybe a nuclear war or whatever the case may be. I don't think he's in a position to do that.
Yeah, I
don't know. What do you think?
I think you make some good points there. My concerns have not changed over the last several weeks. Now, they might change after this press conference this afternoon. I've been very, I think, fair with my opinion. Some Democrats don't like it, but, I'll be clear again, Tom, and you tell me whether you agree with me or not. If Joe Biden is the guy, which I believe he probably will be, I'd say 80%, Joe Biden's got my vote. I'll vote for anybody. As I've said before, I'll vote for a vegetable over Donald Trump. With that said, though, Tom, when you look at some of these new, I believe it were the ABC polls that came out today, that if Kamala Harris runs for president, she's ahead 3 points against Donald Trump. Right now, Joe Biden's still down 1 or 2 points. And I actually feel that. And I think I still feel that right now, that Kamala Harris should be in there. Pick a vice president, let her be president for a couple months, and I think the Democrats would have a better chance to defeat Donald Trump. I only say this because I want the best pathway to defeating Donald Trump. Democrats can get angry at me if they want to. It's hard for me to picture Joe Biden being the president 3 years from now. He's struggling a little bit. He's a very good man. I have the utmost respect for him. And I see Barack Obama walking around at the basketball game I went to last night in Vegas. We need a president that can do that, right? We don't want, we need a president that can walk to his seat by himself. We need a president that we don't have to worry about, him, bumbling over his words. And I say that with respect. I respect Joe Biden a great deal. But if he's staying in the race because he really, truly believes he's the one to beat Donald Trump, fine. But I didn't like the statement that he made when he said, I'm the only one that could beat Donald Trump. That is a narcissistic statement, and I've never said anything like that about Joe Biden before because I think Joe Biden's a really good man. Does he really believe that he's the only person that could defeat Donald Trump? That's not true. We all know that there are others that could do that.
I have to agree with you there. I think he just says that to try to get people to congregate behind him and move forward, because I think he's as frustrated as a lot of people are with people who are coming out, like you had mentioned Nancy Pelosi. The other thing about that is what Nancy Pelosi said, I think, has a lot to do with the idea or the fact that Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee. He's not yet the nominee until the convention, obviously. So I think I would give her a pass on that. Mm-hmm. I think he does have to make a final decision, and he will do that probably at the convention. And the other thing is, one last thing, and I'll let you go. I know there's other callers. Mm-hmm. But do you think the convention, conventions, I should say, for both parties are too close to the election? I would like to see them move back maybe to March, April, or May.
Yeah, I think there are strategic reasons why both parties are doing that in case I don't know. I just think that this is in the history of this country. Usually They're not holding their conventions way before the elections, so I don't think that's an advantage to either party. I think that's just more strategic than anything, Tom, and it's good to hear from you calling out of New York, Tom. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, how you doing, bud?
Good.
Hey, I had a question for you. One thing that I haven't heard a lot about, maybe I just haven't heard, I figured that maybe George W. Bush, the former president, would be speaking out against Trump. I feel like he's been really, really quiet about this. I'm kind of surprised as a true conservative Republican. Why is that? I'm a little disappointed in him.
It's interesting you bring that up because several months back I reached out to some of his managers, I guess, for lack of a better term, because he has a book, and I tried to get him on the show, and they said he was laying low right now. He's not promoting anything, and he's laying low. It's a good question. Wow. It's a good question, and it's the same question I asked so many of these Republicans out there that have been just brutalized by Donald Trump. I mean, Ted Cruz is a perfect example of the cowardness of what I'm talking about. Donald Trump went after his wife's looks. Donald Trump said members of Ted Cruz's family assassinated, John F. Kennedy. So, and look at Ted Cruz. He's been wearing the Donald Trump knee pads for years now. I would hope that George W. Bush doesn't take that same approach, but I'm also, here's the thing, right? George W. Bush has made it adamant he's not supporting Donald Trump, but it's another step for them to take to say that they're actually going to vote for Joe Biden. Now, some of them are doing that. Jeff Duncan is a perfect example of that, and then the others are, I have a write-in. Which I can't stand it to hear that, because basically you're just throwing your vote away. But we have to look at it like this, Paul. We have to look at it like this. Yeah. When any prominent Republican says they're not voting for Donald Trump, you have to take that as a victory, and you have to take what you got.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is my gut tells me with there's two senators now, I just think that the writing's on the wall. I'm with you. I don't know if it's 80%. My gut tells me by the end of next week, Kamala's going to be the head of my gut tells me.
You could be right, Paul. But I think what happens in a couple hours is going to be big.
He might even say he's jumping out of the race at the press conference for all we know. He might do that. He might drop a bomb on everybody.
I don't think that's going to happen. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but our Vice President and Barack Obama were in Las Vegas yesterday. They're friends. I have to think they had private conversations. Boy, would I love to hear. Obama's got too much. Obama's got way too much class, but Obama has to know. He has to know that Joe is not the same guy he was even a couple years ago. Would I love to hear what Barack Obama has to say behind closed doors, because he's a brilliant man. I don't know, Paul. You might be right. I am leaning towards the fact that is not going to happen, and that Joe Biden's going to be sticking in. I think if Kamala Harris is the person, and I think she hires the right vice president that can help get younger voters to the polls, then I think they defeat Donald Trump. But I can only be honest with all of you, and some Democrats could be angry at me, but I'm not quite sure, at least I'm not ready to say that now, that Joe Biden is the best pathway to defeat Donald Trump. That might change even tomorrow after this press conference. I got to wait and see.
The last thing I'll say is, what I do like about the Democratic Party? I don't agree with all the policies. You don't, and that's fine. It's like being married, right? You don't agree with everything your wife says. I like the fact that at least they're not in a cult, and they're not just going along wearing Joe Biden suits at a press conference.
Yeah.
I like the fact that some people are disagreeing, and they're not yelling at each other like a cult. I actually think that's actually a healthy thing for the Democratic Party.
Yes, I agree with you,
Paul. But I like the fact that they're discussing that. I think that's good.
I agree with you, Paul, and that's why I brought that up with Kevin Munoz. And thank you for the call, Paul. Joe Biden comes to Vegas. He's not going to be talking about sharks. He's not going to be calling the January 6th insurrectionists heroes, patriots, and hostages. He won't be selling Joe Biden Bibles. He won't be selling the gold sneakers. We know that for sure. But this is a very important day for Joe Biden. And my eyes are going to be glued to the TV set to watch this press conference. And listen, there's a lot of pressure on Joe Biden today. And I know that Kevin Munoz kind of maybe downplayed it a little bit, but this is a very important press conference. 702-221-7283, one phone line open. Let's go to Octavia. Octavia, who's next up on PTL. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Air, Massachusetts.
All right. Not too far from where I grew up in Connecticut. Love my people in Massachusetts. What's on your mind today?
Well, I just wanted to say, speaking of Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I like Joe Biden. I mean, I really do. I voted for him. I think he has slowed down, but however, it's like we got a president and we have a VP. Why do we have a VP if, in fact, if the president can't go on, the VP is the one that steps in?
Correct.
So Joe's got all these great ideas. You know, he kind of flumbled in debate there, a little slow, but then you had like the vile enemy next, just you could just feel the tension.
Right.
But I hope the interview goes good this afternoon.
I do too.
Number one. Number two, I mean, I always thought that's why we had a VP in place, and I say let's go with Joe Biden. You know, if he can't do good, we have Kamala.
So I get that. So listen, let me start by saying this. I like Joe Biden also. I think he's a good, decent man. I think Joe Biden is a good man. I know he's a good man. He's a good family man. He's a good father. He's a good husband. He's got really good attributes. He has a moral compass, right? He's a good dude, right? I mean, I have nothing personally negative to say about him. However, you can't say you're the only person to defeat Donald Trump. There's a lot of Democrats in this country that feel like there are others that would have a better pathway. Now, if you feel that way, that's one thing. All I can tell you is this, and I know a lot of people don't want to put a lot of credence in what George Clooney has to say, but George Clooney has been close to Joe Biden. He helped him raise $30 million several weeks back. When George Clooney says the man that he saw on that day when they raised money is the same guy he saw on the debate stage, why would George Clooney lie? Why would he come out and lie? Joe Biden's his friend. And if that is the case, that this is who Joe Biden is today, who we saw on that debate stage, then I don't know if that's true or not. All I'm saying is I don't find a reason why George Clooney would lie. All I'm saying is I find that problematic. That's all I'm saying. And that doesn't have anything to do with personally, how I feel about Joe Biden. I think he's a very good man and, quite frankly, a hero for defeating Trump in 2020, and he's been a really good president.
I agree with your statement. I agree with you 100%.
So what do we do then? So what do we do? What do we do?
Well, first of all, I hope that the Democrats can pull together, one, I hope he does good this afternoon. We'll see that.
Yep.
But if not, we need to pull together as Democrats and decide the next best step to beating Donald Trump.
I agree.
Post 225 will kill everything that we've accomplished.
Agree, but why is Nancy Pelosi saying that he hasn't made a final decision yet? Why is Richard Blumenthal in the House chambers saying that? Well, we're making it sound like a decision hasn't been made yet. We're 4 months before an election. Why is Nancy Pelosi saying that when Joe Biden calls into Joe Scarborough and says, "Listen, I'm the guy. I'm not going anywhere." And then you got Nancy Pelosi saying, "Well, he hasn't made a final decision yet." That's mixed messaging that can cost them the election, in my opinion.
No, I agree, and I think Nancy Pelosi is trying to be kind, but sometimes you have if you're truly for the person as George Clooney, like you said, speak the truth. Be honest with that friend, that comrade, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, listen, you're right. I hear you, and it's a good point. I would like to think that Joe Biden's going to win Massachusetts, but there are no guarantees out there. I do think Mitt Romney was a really good governor, a man of decency, even though I don't agree with him on a lot of policy issues. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Yvette. Hi, Yvette. Where are you calling from? Yvette, can you got to lower down your radio or wherever you're listening because there's a little bit of a delay.
Hello?
Yeah, Yvette, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Okay. Hi, Yvette. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New York, and I'm very concerned, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think they should be doing this while the president is having a summit. This is very disrespectful. These Democrats need to go out. They need to go fight. They need to go bring the people out. They can't just depend on Joe Biden. They need to be going in the byways and the highways, speaking to the people and getting them out. Because, yes, Joe Biden might be down because of one 90-minute debate. From what I see, I think the president was tired because he has been doing these traveling overseas to different G7 and those things. Then he comes back and they have him drilling him for the whole week.
Well,
I think he was tired.
Okay, so let me give you a little bit of pushback because listen, we're in the same boat. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden if he's the guy. But if it was just a bad night and he was just tired, then why did they have him out? Why did they have him out until 2:00 in the morning that night? That's my first question. And my second question is, if he was tired, then 6 days he was at Camp David. I mean, I get it if he had a cold, but I mean, at this point, 4 months before an election, we need to see a vibrant Joe Biden. We need to see the Joe Biden we saw at the State of the Union, unscripted, because he's got to prove to middle America, to moderates, moderate Republicans, moderate Democrats, that he's up for the job for another 4 years. I'm not sure, at least I'm not convinced that this was just one bad night unless I can see otherwise.
And I agree with you. But at the same time, we just have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He can prove it. Number one, why did they wait until after the people select him as the nominee? Mm-hmm. If they see signs, as some of them are claiming, they should have put somebody else out there while they were voting. Yeah. The people, even though they said that he's old, they still voted for him.
Right. Well, I agree. Yvette, it's either one of two things. You could tell me whether you disagree. It's either one of two things. Either they're hiding it from the American people, or he's had a tremendous amount of decline in the last several months, or maybe last 6 months, or maybe last year. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it's one or the other.
And I understand what you're saying, but one of the other things that people fail to talk about with Joe Biden is that he stutters. And sometimes when he tries to make a statement, because of the word that he's trying to bring out, then he stumbles.
Yeah.
So that's one factor that people are not looking at. This president stutters. It's natural. I remember his last, what the thing they have coming up again? He took a child on there just so people could understand what it is when people stutter. And I know that some of the times when he tries to answer a question, maybe he's going to try to say a big word, and because he stutters, he kind of
Well, guess what? Here's the good news. Here's the good news. And by the way, it's good to hear from you, and thank you for calling out there in New York. I love New Yorkers, except Donald Trump. He's not a real New Yorker. He's an orange turd. But anyway, I appreciate you calling in. Here's the good news, right? Joe Biden has an opportunity today. During this press conference, he's going to get questions from the opposition. He has a tremendous opportunity today. And yes, I hope he does a good job. But he's going to get questions from Peter Douchey, as I like to call him, Newsmax, and these other right-wing idiots that are going to try to get him in gotcha questions. But guess what? That's part of being the president. They did it with Barack Obama. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes they did it with Donald Trump, too. But it's the job of the president to be able to combat that. And Joe Biden better do that today. If Joe Biden has a really good press conference today, which I hope he does, then I think it'll ease the tensions within the Democrat Party. But there's the flip side. If Joe Biden has a really bad press conference today and he's doing more than just stuttering, and he's doing what he did on a debate stage a few weeks ago, things are going to get worse, and I'm going to mark my words. I don't think he's going to be the person running against Donald Trump. That's why I think this press conference today is so important, ladies and gentlemen. It's so important. 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Andrew. Andrew is next up on PTL. Hi, Andrew. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Marion, Ohio. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I have been waiting my entire life for someone to put together an internet call-in radio show. And I remember CompuServe, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember AOL, getting the discs in the mail. And it's taken this long for somebody to come up with an internet radio show that's a call-in show.
Yeah, so what I do is... Thank
you.
Well, you're welcome. That's very nice of you to say. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're on the radio, FM, AM, but certainly with technology today. and the way people do shows. While I am on a local radio station here in Vegas, it also gives me an opportunity to speak to people like you across the country, which I'm very appreciative and humbled that so many people listen to this show every day, and I'm able to reach so many people across the country. So I love it. I love to hear from all sorts of different people. I love to hear from people of different backgrounds in different states across the country, sometimes even in different countries. So I like hearing that. I love it, and I'm going to continue to do it. And I appreciate it because of people like you. So thank you.
All right. Well, I can't understand why nobody has thought of this before. It's been like literally 40 years of internet. This is the first time I've ever heard.
Well, I appreciate that. So what are your thoughts on Joe Biden? Do you think he should stay in the race? And what are your thoughts on that?
Do I think Joe Biden should stay in the race? If he drops out of the race and voluntarily leaves, then I think Kamala Harris should step up and she should choose her vice presidential pick.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, if he stays in the race, I don't think he's going to win.
I'm worried. I'm not ready to say yet that he's going to lose, but I'm worried. And if he does lose, and maybe we're getting way too far ahead of ourselves, then who do we blame for that? I can tell you right now that the Democrat Party, I'm not going to say that they're split, but there are House Democrats, it seems by the day, more and more coming out showing their concerns. Some of them publicly have said he should step down. So this is not good 4 months before an election when you have prominent Democrats that are saying that he should step down. When you have Nancy Pelosi contradicting what Joe Biden said on MSNBC the other day, when Joe Biden said, I'm in it to win it, I'm not going anywhere. And then you have Nancy Pelosi literally a day later saying he hasn't made a final decision yet. That's mixed messaging within the Democrat Party, and it's very confusing to voters.
It's like civil war in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But, I personally think that I don't really share my personal opinions. I like to go straight down the middle. I listen to Karine Jean-Pierre religiously. I tune in for that press conference and listen to every word she's ever typed.
Yep.
But then I also am open to the other side of any question. I think there's two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And I don't share my personal opinion.
Well, I can tell you for me, and by the way, thank you so much for calling. I can tell you that's my job. I can only tell you guys how I feel, and all these right-wing idiots that do conservative talk radio in their right-wing echo chamber, they'll never criticize Donald Trump for anything. And all day long today, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, Joe Biden can't talk. Joe Biden can't walk. He's going to be in a wheelchair. I've heard people even say more despicable things about him passing away. Yet these are the same idiots, make no mistake about it, these are the same idiots that coddle a liable rapist and somebody who is a 34-count felon. They have no credibility. They are scum of the earth. Yes, I said it, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Hannity's of the world, the Laura Ingrams of the world, the Mark Levins of the world are all scum. They're terrible human beings, and all they care about is ratings. All they care about is clicks. I played you audio yesterday of Candace Owens defending Adolf Hitler, and yet universities across the country are paying her to speak. How dare they? There are universities across the country that are paying Kyle Rittenhouse to speak. These people have no shame. They're horrible human beings. And where are the apologies from the right? CNN and MSNBC have been hammering Joe Biden for the last 2 weeks. Have you seen even an hour of that sort of coverage, the other side, hammering Donald Trump for anything? Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, pathetic organizations that call themselves news organizations. Have you seen any of them doing anything? If Donald Trump has a horrible debate, do you remember that first debate he had in 2020 with Joe Biden where he had a horrible debate, interrupting every other word? Was Fox News hammering Sean Hannity? Of course they wouldn't, because they're dishonest people. Say what you want about the left-wing media, CNN, MSNBC, they have hammered Joe Biden the last several weeks. Oh, Jake Tapper, he's going to be unfair. Have you seen some of CNN's coverage? Because they have honesty and they have a sense of some integrity. Say what you want about CNN. Say what you want about the left-wing media. They have been criticizing Joe Biden. They have been criticizing his campaign because they are far more credible than any of the right-wing turds that some of you MAGA morons listen to. They coddle Donald Trump until the cows come home. Oh, yeah, behind closed doors. You'll hear Sean Hannity say, oh, yeah, that Trump, he's full of crap. Behind closed doors, you've heard Tucker Carlson in text messages saying how much he dislikes Donald Trump, but they won't be honest with you on the air because they're all scumbags. That's why. They're despicable human beings. That's why. How do you watch Sean Hannity? How do you watch Laura Ingraham? How can you watch anybody like that with any bit of saying, wow, that person's got credibility? These people on CNN have far more credibility than any idiot on the right that's ever done anything for Fox News, ever. And Ted Koppel said it right. People like Sean Hannity are a danger to this country because they spew their bigotry, they spew their hatred, and they spew their right-wing propaganda. And you morons out there that are MAGA supporters, so many of you without a brain, you Klan cultists out there, believe it. Could be Hillary Clinton being a pedophile at a pizza ring. It could be Donald Trump won the 2020 election. It could be about Dominion voting machines. You're all a joke. And you're brainwashed and you're stupid. That's what you are. And I'm sick of it. We can have conversations and disagreements about policy all day. That's fair. That's fine. You have some criticisms for the Biden campaign. That's fair. I do too. But don't you sit here and tell me that the left-wing media is unfair and they're biased when all you right-wingers do out there, especially in the media, is coddle and wear the Donald Trump knee pads. Screw you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Wilson. Wilson is next up on PTL. Hello, Wilson. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. I'm calling from Arizona right now. How's it going?
Arizona. What's up, my man? How you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm doing pretty good. This is the first time I'm tuning into your radio show. I spotted it on Twitter, and I just wanted to, show my appreciation and my support.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I had a couple of things to say, but really, what I wanted to talk about right now is actually just, strategy, right? I have a question for you, right? And I'm just wondering, is there, if you had the ability to ask the president a question at the press conference today, right? You got one question, right?
Yeah.
What would you ask him? And I'm just asking this because,
sure.
Right.
I would ask him a few. I would ask him a few, but let me think here for a moment. I guess the first question I would ask him would be this one. Do you really feel you're the only person that can defeat Donald Trump? Do you really mean that? You don't think your vice president or anybody else, any other Democrat, could defeat Donald Trump? That would be my first question. My second question would be, you said you weren't feeling well on that debate stage. You said your doctor looked at you right after the debate and said, you're really tired. Then why did you decide to go out until 2 o'clock in the morning? Why didn't you go to bed? I mean, those would be the two immediate questions that I would ask Joe Biden because I think they're very fair.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly have to agree with you. And my estimations, right? I feel like the way Joe Biden would respond he would say that he I don't think that realistically he would think that he's the only person who could defeat Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure that he's a realistic guy, and
he shouldn't have said it. My comment to that is that he shouldn't have said that.
Well, it might have been a strategic thing, but I think realistically, I don't think he would think that he'd be the only one.
I hope not, because that would be delusional.
Yeah. I don't think Joe Biden's that kind of guy. I don't think
What would you ask? If you had an opportunity to ask, what would you ask him?
For me, I would ask him, if he had the ability to change America, right, and do anything. Right. If he had the ability to change one thing in America in his upcoming presidency, what would he do? I want to know, because that's as a Democratic voter, that's what I want to know. I want to know what Joe Biden plans to do with his presidency in the future.
I would say put all the MAGA Republicans in Guantanamo Bay. But no, I joke. But I don't know. But, hey, George, it's good to hear from you, my man. I appreciate you calling in out of Arizona. Thank you so much. Thank you for calling in, and you're welcome to call back anytime. Okay, thank you, sir. Got to get to some other callers here. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. That's a good question to ask the callers, by the way. If you had one question to ask Joe Biden today in the press conference, which, by the way, is going to be happening here in a little over 2 hours, what would you ask him? 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jeffrey, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Jeffrey. Where are you calling from? Jeffrey, are you there? Okay, so keep Jeffrey on hold. I think Jeffrey's listening to another station. Yeah, keep Jeffrey on hold. That's okay. We'll go back to him. So you guys got to be ready to go, man. Like Barack Obama, you got to be fired up and ready to go, right? When you call into this show. Again, that number to call is 702-221-7283 if you would like to be a part of the program. All right, let's see. Who are we going to next there? Why don't we go to Carl? Carl is next up on PTL. Hi, Carl. Thanks for calling into the show. What's on your mind, my man? Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Brian. Am I coming through?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Oh, good. Listen, I've mentioned it before. I think this whole thing as to who's going to run in the Democratic Party, whether it's Biden or not, when it gets down to the convention, it has to 100% be somebody who definitely has a great chance of beating the Orange Man. Mm-hmm. They have to have a great chance, not just a little chance, possibly a close race. I hate that word, a close race. Mm-hmm. A close race can go anywhere.
Shouldn't be close, Carl. It shouldn't be close. I mean, I agree with Adam Schiff. The comments that he made the other day. This should not be a close race. Okay. The reason why this is a close race is because of Joe Biden's age. Let's not be complicit about this. You are facing a 34-count felon as your opponent. A 34-count felon that is a liable sexual abuser. Right. This should not be a close race. Where the hell are we in this country? It's because of Joe Biden's age. I can't think of any other reason.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if it is Biden who is nominated, who's going to run against Trump, it's going to be a close race. I hate to say it.
It's going to be a close race.
You have to agree.
It's going to be well, that's not what the polls are saying. Now, if you don't believe the polls, that's fine. But I would rather a close race than somebody that's behind in every single poll. And by the way, a new ABC poll just came out saying that if Kamala Harris is running against Donald Trump head-to-head, she's up by 3 points. So, again, I don't know how much credibility you want to put into some of the...
That's a close race.
Well, I mean, listen...
3 points is a close race.
Well, listen, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I'd rather have a close race than somebody that's trailing in every single poll.
Well, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But they've got to finally decide at the convention definitely who is going to be way ahead, not just close. And I said before, and I say again, and I say it 100 times, it's going to be Michelle Obama because
I don't think
will win. I do. She will win.
She doesn't want to be anywhere. She doesn't want to be anywhere near the White House.
Miles.
She doesn't want to be anywhere near.
She's saying that. But if she's shown by other people in the party that's the only thing that will save our country.
It's 4 months.
I think she's a patriot.
I agree, but it's 4 months before the election. If that was the case, she would have done it by now. She would have done it the day after that debate.
She can wait. She got plenty of time to wait.
Well, look,
Barack Obama is getting around. Barack Obama is going to a lot of things now, and I think he's setting the groundwork for her. In certain ways.
Listen, Carl.
And she's gonna,
Carl, listen. And by the way, thank you for the call. I hope you're right, Carl. I don't think you are. I agree with you that if Michelle Obama ran against Donald Trump, she would wipe the floor clean with him. It would not be a close race. I agree with you. All the contacts that I have, and I do have a few that are pretty close, that either work in Washington, D.C., guests of the show, people that know Michelle Obama personally. She does not want to be anywhere near the White House. And quite frankly, I don't blame her because I wouldn't want to be there either. I hope you're right, Carl. I just don't think you are. Thank you for the call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony is next up on PTL. Hi, Anthony. Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is me, Las Vegas.
Nice. What's going on, Anthony? What's on your mind today?
I wanted to bring up two things. How they whooped on Biden. They bring up all this nonsense, easy stuff to just make it so easy for Trump.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you think I've brought up, to be fair, because I can't speak for them, do you think I've brought up any nonsense today? Because at times I've been a little critical of his campaign.
No. We never do. You never bring up nonsense. You bring it out and bring it right to the point.
I appreciate that. Okay, so give me an I appreciate you clarifying that. So give me an example, like of left-wing media, maybe, because I would assume that's what you're talking about. That you would, or maybe right-wing media too. I don't know. There's a lot of nonsense on the right. We can.
Yeah. When they want to talk about Biden's a pedophile.
Well, yeah.
When I think his daughter, somebody said that, I think my dad took a shower with me when I was a child. And they brought that up and they railroaded that to Bolivia.
I agree.
Then they brought up this stuff about him smelling the little child's hair. And who in the heck don't smell the children's hair? Hell, I smell my girlfriend's hair. Hell, if that's the case, smelling hair, the shampoo.
Well, let's be clear. So that's a good
they smell it and they like to smell the hair.
That's a good example of what you're bringing up here, and I'll take it a step further. Donald Trump has had 25 women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife. It was proven in a courtroom that he's a liable sexual abuser. But these are the same people that have no problems with that. But if you see a video, that's something that any grandfather probably would do. Maybe it's a close hug with a young child, and maybe he puts his head close to the child's head. Somehow they take that as pedophilia. It's a word that they throw around there. And as far as the diary goes, because you're talking about Joe Biden's daughter who wrote a diary, she never said how old she was when they showered together. And I could also tell you, I'm not saying that I would do it, but I could also tell you that depending on how old a baby is, 1-2 years old, there are plenty of fathers in this country that will shower with their very young child, which is not against the law, and I don't think that's inappropriate. It depends on.
I had to wash her and bring her out of the showers, and she'd be hollering, "Daddy, I'm ready to come out." After I'd put her in the tub and everything.
Right, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's
all of that.
Of course.
Now, if I was around here talking about grabbing them by the feet, they would have kicked me out of the forest already.
Of course, it's a double standard, and it's more than a double standard because Donald Trump is a known liable sexual abuser. The judge characterized him as rape. You're absolutely right, my friend. I appreciate the call, and you're right. I mean, listen, if people want to talk about Joe Biden's mental acuity and is he fit for another 4 years, I don't think that's unfair. I'm not a doctor. He doesn't have Alzheimer's. He doesn't have Parkinson's. I'm not going to have those types of conversations. But if you want to say, hey, listen, is he mentally fit for another 4 years? I think that's a fair conversation to have. But make no mistake about it. When it comes to moral clarity or a moral compass, Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon. Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser. Donald Trump has kids with multiple ex-wives. Donald Trump is the guy that had sex with a porn star, just a few weeks after Barron was born. So there's no moral equivalency there. I'm with you 100% on that one. Thank you for the call, sir. Good to hear from my Vegas peeps. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julie. Julie is next up on PTL. Hello, Julie.
Hi.
Hi, Julie. Yep, go ahead.
Well, I have a big concern that nobody's really been talking about, and what it is if Trump wins, Putin will be running our country, and people aren't talking about it. They're not even bringing it up. They know him and Trump are buddies. He has Trump wrapped around his finger. And he's had him in, the Oval Office, and he's helped him win before. It's like, why are the Democrats not bringing that up?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that the Democrats should bring up. I think one of them, which is the one that you're bringing up now, is we need to remember, and I think a lot of Republicans have Alzheimer's themselves. Donald Trump is the guy that stood on a world stage right next to Vladimir Putin, and he took Vladimir Putin's word over our own CIA and FBI. Donald Trump is the guy that wrote love letters to Kim Jong-un. Donald Trump is the guy who does these things, and I don't know what Vladimir Putin, Russia, have on Donald Trump, but you've never heard Donald Trump criticize Vladimir Putin for anything. In fact, he'll blame Ukraine for the war. And he, one thing, that's another thing about Joe Biden. He's called Vladimir Putin for who he is, an evil, murderous dictator. So I think that's one entity. I think Project 2025. I think abortion would probably be illegal across the country if Donald Trump gets back in office. He's going to have Stephen Miller and the Steve Bannon idiots of the world in his administration. If you thought Donald Trump's administration was bad, dating back to 2000. 2016 to 2020. Wait and see what's going to happen if he gets reelected. So I think Vladimir Putin's situation is certainly one of many issues that I have when it comes to Donald Trump if he gets reelected again, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing I'm kind of upset about is the Democrats are not cutting down the Republican politicians from the top down who are supporting Trump and Putin.
Yeah.
It's like, do they not have kids? Do they not have grandkids? Do they not care about their family? Because if Trump / Putin take over our country, we're over. I mean, yeah, our country.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say to that. I think we're in a lot of trouble if Donald Trump is reelected. Do I think it's the end of the country? No. Do I think, that Vladimir Putin will be calling all the shots? Probably not. But I do believe that if Trump is reelected, our democracy might be in some trouble. I do believe if Trump is reelected, he wants to make America white again. I do believe if Donald Trump is elected, the continual attacks on migrants, the attacks on brown people in this country, the racism, the bigotry will only be stronger. And, a lot of people want to talk about Joe Biden's mental acuity. Just take a look at Donald Trump and his mental acuity. We could also have a conversation about that. But here's the difference. While Joe Biden might stumble over his words and Joe Biden might have had a bad debate, Donald Trump intentionally incites violence. Donald Trump intentionally wanted January 6th to happen. Donald Trump intentionally goes after members of our military. He goes after women on looks. He goes after transgenders. This is intent. So while they're both old, Donald Trump has the intent of bigotry, racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, and he cannot, and we cannot allow him to get anywhere near the White House ever again.
I know. And the top Republican politicians, they're fine with all that. Why are they not being just crushed? I mean, it needs to come out more and more about, from Mitch McConnell all the way down, how stupid and how
you are not going to get anything from the useless turtle. Donald Trump has and by the way, thank you so much for the call, dear. I appreciate you. Mitch McConnell is the guy who has gone after Donald Trump on occasion. Donald Trump has gone after Mitch McConnell, his family members, and yet the spineless, useless turtle is still supporting Donald Trump and voting party lines because he is a coward. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next. What's going on, Paul? Where are you calling from?
Brian, long time, first time here in Vegas, buddy.
Thank you. Good to hear from you, Paul. What's on your mind, my friend?
So, look, it's a fire sale. That's what the media is telling us, right? So if we have to come up with another ticket, why not Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg? You've got youth, you've got intelligence, you've got
talk
education.
About that. Yep.
All right.
Let's talk about that, Paul. Here's why I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not saying it wouldn't be successful. I think it would. Here's why it's not going to happen, in my opinion, and you can tell me if you think I'm wrong. You have a vice president, a minority, and you're going to put two white guys in front of her. Boy, that's going to be a bad look for the Democrat Party. That's all I'm saying.
Fully understand your point. So then let's have it be Kamala and Pete Buttigieg. Look, Pete's already in the cabinet, right? We know he's intelligent. We know he's firm in his beliefs. Let's put that ticket together.
I'm with you. I am all in to have a minority.
If Joe decides to back out.
I agree. I'm with you 100%. If we have get a minority that happens to be a female running as president with a man who is gay, listen, I think that would be great for the country. My only worry is, listen, let's just call it for what it is. I'd like to think there are more decent, good people in this country than homophobes and racists. But we know that if you're an evangelical, well, you're going to probably be voting for Donald Trump anyway. But that would be my only concern. Is America, I would vote for them, right? You would. Is America
100%.
ready to vote for a female who happens to be a minority with a gay man as vice president? I don't know. I'm not so sure. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, and okay, so if the country's not ready for Kamala and Pete, then let's put Gavin Newsom in there, right? But I do have one more point, okay? These white Christian nationalists, it's time to start calling them what they are, and I'm going to spell it out for you after I say it. We need to all start referring to them as Nazis. So that would be N-A-T.
Yeah. Well, here's what I want you to do. Here's
and
what
if you say it.
Yeah,
If you say it fast enough, you know what we're talking about.
I want to play some audio for you, and I want you to hear this, if you may, if we can do that now, if we may.
Sure.
So, Justin, if we could do that, that would be great. I want you to hear this because this is exactly what you are talking about, Christian nationalist. So this is Josh Hawley, who is a complete imbecile and a coward, by the way. I want you to listen. Stay on the line. I want you to listen to what Josh Hawley had to say about Christians in this country. Have a listen to this.
Some will say now that I am calling America a Christian nation. And so I am. And some will say that I am advocating Christian nationalism. And so I do.
And they clap, these fools. So what do you make of that
It's
audio?
terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, it's terrifying because look. So I think something like 114 members of Trump's former administration are working on Project 2025. And, the Persimmon Pudge Muppet says that he doesn't understand it. He doesn't know who's behind it. He's never heard of it. Come on.
This is not a Christian nation, okay? This is a nation filled with different religions. I don't care what they say. There are plenty of people in this country that are not Christian. We can believe what we want to believe. We can be atheist. We can be Jewish. We can be Christian. We could be Islam, whatever. So for Josh Hawley to say this is a Christian nation, he can go fly a kite as far as I'm concerned. He is the biggest fool of so many fools on the far right. This is not a Christian nation. This is a nation of freedom to believe in what you want to believe, no matter what religion or what race you are. And Josh Hawley is a frickin' moron, is what he is.
I absolutely agree with you. Look, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it recently, that, no, America is not a Christian nation. It is a nation in which you are free to be Christian or anything else.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And if you look back at Thomas Jefferson's writings, he actually mentioned Muslims back then. And he said, look, if you want to come to America and be a Muslim, you can come to America and be a Muslim. Yeah. Although he spelled it wrong. He spelled it Mooslim. Right. That was the way that it was spelled back then. Yeah. Look, I'm an atheist. I grew up Christian. I became an atheist by studying the Bible. All right, and that's going to upset some people in your audience. The fact that they want to, and I'm also a teacher, by the way. Oh. The fact that if we look at what happened in Oklahoma, right? You have this white Christian nationalist as the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma, and now he's demanding that the Ten Commandments and the Bible be
ridiculous,
absolutely
absurd,
schools.
Absurd.
How is that not unconstitutional?
It's a joke. Let me tell you, you make a lot of good points there, my man, and I appreciate you calling in. Great call. And I'm glad you're a teacher because I'm confident you're not indoctrinating anybody. I'll take you any day of the week teaching kids anywhere. You sound like a smart guy. I'm glad that there are good people like you out there, and thank you for calling out of Las Vegas. You call back again anytime. Appreciate the call. All right, let's take a few more calls, then we got to take a break. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Cyrus. Cyrus is next up on PTL. Hello, Cyrus.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I hope you're doing well. I'm calling from Sun Valley, Idaho. I'm taking a road trip.
All right.
I wanted to share my analysis politically.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What platform?
No
What platform are you listening in Idaho? I'm curious.
No, I just have your number saved, and I'm watching you through YouTube.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I appreciate that. I was just curious where you were listening from. Well, thank you.
You.
Sorry to interrupt. Go right ahead.
No problem. So as I was doing a road trip through Ely, it was a long, endless trip, and then into the rural areas of Idaho. There's a lot of American flags, and there's certainly a lot of Trump expressionism. Now, not in this county, unfortunately. It's the only blue county perhaps in the state. But I just like to know your take. What really made the rural areas very red? Because if we didn't count the rurals, the Republican Party would not be the party that it is now.
All right. Well, some people are not going to like what I have to say, but you ask a question, I'm going to answer it honestly. Education and intelligence. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not saying everybody that's living in those counties is stupid. That would be a gross mischaracterization. But let's be honest. There are less, and I would say far less uses for people to be educated, for lack of a better term, in some of those areas. You have a lack of educated people. You have people that a lot of people in those areas that are working jobs that are probably not the jobs that you have to have large qualifications for. And when you're living in those small counties, and you're living in those counties where the school systems aren't very good, and you don't have the opportunities to get educated, and you hang around other people that are not educated, it's easy to be brainwashed. And you ask me, that's what I think. I mean, that's what I think.
But a lot of them used to vote blue back in the day. I mean, Iowa and many of the states, the rural counties, went blue in 2012, and then they shifted in 2016.
But I agree, but many of those people in those types of areas don't have the opportunities that maybe people like myself would have in larger areas that we live in. I'm not saying that everybody who lives in those areas are dumb. What I am saying is a lot of people in those areas don't have the same opportunities to be educated like others do. And I do believe that many people that are in Donald Trump's base are those people. They are middle-aged white people that are uneducated, and they are not not understanding of what fake news really is.
Well, they're not. Well, I can say for least they're not as credentialized, because I don't think that credentials are an exact measure of education. I mean,
but think about. But I understand what you're saying. But think about this: Donald Trump's base. They're not in L.A. They're not in New York, the two biggest cities in the country. Right. These are people in middle America that when Donald Trump said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, they'll still support me. I love the uneducated. Make no mistake about it. Donald Trump is talking. Donald Trump is talking about those people. So here's what we're going to do. We have some more people waiting on hold. We have a MAGA supporter that's on hold. Herb, Pam, Kava, I'll get to all your phone calls on the other side. I got to take a break. We've taken an hour straight of phone calls. I've got to take a break. We'll take more phone calls on the other side. We have one phone line open. If you listen to conservative talk shows in Las Vegas, they beg for phone calls. They say our phone lines are open because they're open the entire show. Our phone lines have been full the entire show. We do have one phone line open at 702-221-7283. I will take some more phone calls when we come back from break. You are listening. And you know what? I'm going to go right to Herb. He is a Donald Trump supporter when we come back. So sit tight. We'll be back in 2 minutes. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is PTL on a Thursday. Programming note for you tomorrow. Chief Judge Cynthia Cruz will be joining us, and she has a lot of experience as a judge. I want to ask her about her thoughts on the Supreme Court, her thoughts on abortion, her thoughts on what's going on across the country. Chief Judge Cynthia Cruz will be joining us in studio tomorrow, and looking forward to that very much. So I also ask that all of you please check out my website. It's fairly new. We've had hundreds of thousands of people hitting up that website, and we want more. So please check it out. It's pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We are independently owned, so we appreciate any support you can give us. Sign up for our newsletter. It's free. Sign up for my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. You could also buy merchandise on my website and even donate. Check it out, pushingthelimits.live. Also, I need to mention that my favorite gaming bar in town, of course, is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. I was actually out there the other day. Some of the best lunches I've ever had have been at Jackson's. Great promotion. Show your TAM card any Tuesday this month. You get $50 in free slot play. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Please check them out. I promised that I would get back to the phone calls, and we have a mixed bag of callers that are waiting on the line with very different opinions. 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Herb. Hello, Herb.
Hey, Brian, how you doing today, buddy?
I am doing okay, Herb.
Listen, you were talking about Josh Hawley and the fact that he has said that this is a Christian nation. But isn't that based on the fact that the laws, the Constitution, and things were based on the Bible? Isn't that why we consider this a Christian nation, the Bible, and the Constitution itself was written based on the Bible?
So
right?
the first thing I would say to that is there are a ton of people in this country that could care less about the Bible, that haven't read one word of it. When you say it's a Christian nation, you are saying that we should all believe in Christian beliefs, that we should
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. However, we recognize and accept and welcome religions of all different religions.
We do.
That's one of the reasons why they came to this country.
We do. We respect all others. Do we? We respect all others with all different religions.
Sure.
So, really? So the guy that you're going to vote for, Donald Trump, said you must hate your own Jewish religion if you don't vote for me. Do you think that's respecting?
But wait a minute, Brian. I'm not saying we're not talking about Trump right now.
No, but you just said as a country.
Just a minute.
I disagree with you. As a country, you're saying that.
But you don't have to use. But everything that you talk about always relates to Trump. We're talking about
what I talk about.
What
I talk about is this country. If you want to talk about the country was founded, the country was also founded on slavery. So does that mean we're a country based on slavery? What you're saying to me doesn't make any sense. Just because somebody wrote something in a book many, many years ago doesn't mean that this is what this country is all about. You could also say the country was founded on slavery. We're a country that's based in slavery. No, times change and people change. This is not a Christian country.
You don't think that the Constitution was based on the Bible, on concepts of the Bible?
The Constitution was written when we were owning human beings. So I don't take everything like you do, word for word, whether it be the Bible or the Constitution. Times change and people change. By your standards.
What should we change in the Constitution that you don't agree with?
Well, you should talk to Donald. Again, you don't like it when I talk about Donald Trump because I make points based on the things that you say that I disagree with. Donald Trump is the guy that said he wants to rip up parts of the Constitution. He actually said that. What do I not agree with? Maybe you should talk to the guy that you're going to vote for on that. Maybe that's the guy you should talk to. They wrote the Constitution when they had something called muskets. And there are people today, I'm not talking about you right now, I'm talking about right-wing zealots and morons that make love to their guns every night that want to cite the Constitution when we have a bunch of assault weapons out there on the streets that can kill 100 people in under 30 seconds. So I don't go by every single word in the Constitution like you go by. We are not a Christian nation. We are a cesspool of people from all different backgrounds, which I like, by the way, all different shapes and sizes, all different colors, and all different religions. Josh Hawley can talk about Christianity until the house comes down, but this is the guy who, again, supports a liable sexual abuser, a rapist. So I could give two craps what Josh Hawley says. This is not a Christian nation. You can believe in the values that you want to believe in, but nobody's going to tell me that this is a Christian nation.
Okay, so allow me to believe in my beliefs. Allow people to vote for Trump if they want to vote for Trump. Stop every day trying to convince people.
Okay, so first of all, you're wrong. First of all, hold on, Herb. Herb, when have I ever said that you don't have the right to vote for Donald Trump?
No, it's not.
Okay, so hold on. I'm not done yet. Okay, so I never did that. So that's number one. Number two, you might not agree with my opinions. Never have I ever come on the air and said, I want to persuade you. I want to change your mind. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. These are Brian Shapiro's opinions, and I share them. And yes, I believe people that are voting for Donald Trump, I disagree with them doing that. But you see, maybe you're used to shows that you only agree with everything that they have to say. Guess that? That's not what I do. There are a lot of Democrats that are upset with me because I've criticized the Joe Biden campaign. But you know what I do? I listen to the opposition. I had one of the campaign managers from the Joe Biden campaign, and I challenged him. The right-wing shows won't challenge anybody when it comes to Donald Trump.
Brian, that's why I listen to your program, so that I can hear your opinion.
I appreciate that, Herb. I appreciate you saying that. But don't mischaracterize my show or me as trying to persuade people. These are my own opinions. You could either agree or disagree, and I will do battle with you, and we will have a conversation. I don't wake up in the morning saying, geez, I really hope I change that guy Herb's mind. No, there's people out there.
No, I don't think you talk about me particularly, but
I'm saying in general, I don't.
Every day,
no, I don't try to change anybody's mind. No, I don't. People can listen to me. They can agree or disagree.
Brian, you work awfully hard to talk about the Trump supporters.
No, I work awfully hard. No, I work awfully hard in speaking my mind. And
you called me a bunch of names.
I work.
I hung up on you
because you hung up on me like a coward. I appreciate you staying on the line.
Brian, you hang up on people all the time.
If they okay, because it's not your show. Okay, number one.
Okay.
Number two,
right.
When people interrupt, when people say things that are not only disrespectful to me to start a conversation, but also characterize me like you did in one party, which I am not, that's when I stop taking people seriously. Herb, I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. And I did not hang up on you because even though you said something that I disagree with, I don't try to persuade anybody on this show. Listen, there are a lot of Trumpers out there where he can rape a child on a video and they would still vote for him. I'm not persuading those people because they don't have the brain intellect to think about that outside of their little right-wing echo chamber box. I'm not trying to persuade anybody. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Pam. Hi, Pam. What's going on?
Good afternoon. Brian, I have been putting myself a bit on a timeout as far as the presidential candidates. At this point, we know it's one against the other until the convention, and then it's confirmed. I have personally has been spending a lot of my time and energy following the other candidates. Josh Hawley's up for re-election. Katie Porter's up for re-election. There are so many important elections that are going to be taking place with our Senate, with our Congress. I have been, every time I forego a Starbucks, that's $10 more that I can contribute to one of these other candidates, Wisconsin, Michigan. I'm focusing on all them. There's a great Gen Z organization now coming up real strong in Florida. I just sent $10 to them. There's a lot of opportunities out here. We need to stop going back and forth, me personally, because it gets my blood pressure too high.
Me too.
When they bring up about presidential, I push Project 2025, the 47 agenda, and I push that, and I push that, and I said, if you can't get it anywhere because of the AI or whatever, go to the YouTube channel, watch some of these interviews. There was an amazing one with Hillary Clinton on the other day with Mark Elias. Oh my gosh, there's just so much information out there. But I really want to tell everybody, support these state candidates for Congress and for Senate. They are who we need to really be putting some attention on.
Well,
because
I'll make
right
it
now,
even.
all the-
I'll make it even. And Pam, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you calling in. I'm not supporting any MAGA candidates. You know, there are a few where I understand where they have to support Donald Trump to win, but I'm not going to support any MAGA candidates. I voted for 8 Republicans in 2022, none of whom were MAGA candidates. If you're all in MAGA, you don't have my vote. Make it pretty clear there. You don't have my vote. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Why don't we go to JD, who's next up on PTL. Hello, JD.
Hello, Brian. You made a statement about the rurals and your caller going up to Idaho. Every year, the RJ puts out a list of the 100 top students in the state that they give out scholarships. And the highest a few years ago was 87. Mm-hmm. It's generally every year between 80 and 87 students from Winnemucca, Ely, Yarrington, Sparks, all the rural counties. And the great disparity, you know, you had a fortunate education in the city you grew up in, so did I. But to downplay the rurals as opposed to the big cities.
So you disagree with me because you have anecdotal evidence of 80 to 87 students that did well in high school. Is that your argument, JD?
I guess basically that's what I stated.
Okay. So I'm not going to take 80 to 87 students and say, oh, geez, I must have been wrong. In general terms, because I am speaking.
They're the top students in the state.
Okay, so you can take 80 to 87 students that happen to live in rural areas, and you want to make that argument against me, and you think I'm wrong and you're right. You can have that opinion. I'm not. Here's what I will say. In general terms, in many rural areas, many people do not have the same opportunities that they have in larger districts and cities. And that is why I say in general, because you could always find intelligent people that are educated in rural cities. But in general, they are, in my opinion, not as educated as people that live in larger cities. That is what I stand by.
How do you explain Clark County, one of the worst 49th or 50th state in the state we rank every year, year after year, as compared to what I just stated of the rurals? How can that be factual, what you're stating?
Sure. So you're taking 80 to 87 people, and you're trying to make the argument, kids that have done well in school, and I am very happy for them. How many high-profile jobs where you need a college diploma, jobs where you need quality education, are those jobs found in more rural areas or larger cities?
In the more rural areas, you're talking about farm country. You're talking about the cow counties where they're raising cows and sheep. So basically,
you don't need a college education to do.
A child was born into that family, and from the time he's about 7 or 8 years old, he's learning how to milk cows, raise cows and chickens, and so forth. A good analogy. A good analogy is the Amish people in Pennsylvania. They did an interview in 60 Minutes with, I think, Leslie Stahl years ago, and they brought up that particular subject that none of those people in the Amish country go to college. And they were all very successful business people, whether they were making food or making pastries or raising farm animals. So you can't make a broad statement like you always do about Alabama, in which you're how you criticize them with your very poor accent.
What did I criticize Alabama for? Do you remember?
You always call the Southern Alabama people redneck, yahoos, illiterate, and so forth.
I've never generalized everybody in Alabama as a redneck. You're a liar.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. You're a liar. I've never. Maybe you're
I'm a liar.
redneck.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you're a redneck.
Have a good night.
Maybe
have
you're
a good
JD.
Day.
Are you a redneck? JD?
Yes, I am a redneck. Sure.
I thought so. Thank you. Have a nice day, JD. Good luck milking your cows. Never once did I ever say that everybody in Alabama is a redneck. I've never made that statement. And when somebody calls into the show and, again, mischaracterizes what I said and lies, because JD's a liar, that's what he is, I never said that. Donald Trump's base, in my opinion, not every person that supports Donald Trump, but his base of supporters, in my opinion, are not very intelligent, educated people. They are uneducated. A large portion of that base live in rural areas. You can look up the stats if you don't believe me. Look up whether they're registered Republicans or Democrats. Look up whether they're MAGA supporters or not. I'm very happy that JD gave me some anecdotal evidence that there's 80 to 87 students that have done very well in rural areas. Doesn't change my opinion on how I feel in general terms. But people like JD are not smart enough to understand that because JD must have been brought up in a rural area, I'm going to assume. I don't know. Milking cows. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kava. Kava, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Good. What's on your mind, man?
So I just wanted to make something abundantly clear to MAGA. I have a question for all you MAGAs out there. Why do you guys hate Democrats who are simply just doing our job and trying to keep Trump from making this country any worse? Because before, we all know what he did. We all know what he said. We all know how he reacted during the BLM protests. We all have seen it. We've heard him go after NFL players who are people of color. He's gone after women. I don't understand how many of you out there feel the need to keep supporting him. There's no reason for it. Because what you're doing is essentially you're saying that it's okay for him to do what he's doing. It's okay for him to name call. It's okay for him to do whatever the heck he wants.
Yeah.
Why is this okay with you guys? It makes zero sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kava. You're right. It does make zero sense. But there's a lot of things going on politically right now that makes zero sense. But Kava, I'll tell you this. We are now about an hour and a half away from the most important press conference in Joe Biden's political career. Joe Biden wasn't born in rural, was he? I don't know. Well, that's JD. I don't know. Anyway. What a ridiculous phone call. Anyway, I could picture JD right now in rural Nevada milking cows. All due respect to people who milk cows. Calling on his Obama phone, calling into the show. But anyway, we are going to have full-blown coverage of this Joe Biden press conference, which is going to be in about 90 minutes. We will also have Chief Judge Cynthia Cruz joining me on the show tomorrow. Boy, a lot of questions that I want to ask her. Her thoughts on the Supreme Court. So many questions to get to with her as well. And Nicole Mitchell will be joining us on a Friday. Please check out my website. We are independently owned. We rely on your support, and we appreciate your support. You can just check out the website if you want to. Sign up for the newsletter completely free. And we have some merchandise up there. And if you don't want to buy merchandise, we have the donate button. We appreciate your support very much. And we're all going to have our eyes glued, I think, to this press conference this afternoon. And we will have full coverage of it tomorrow immediately to start the show, whether you're listening in rural Nevada or not. You're welcome to call in. Have a great day, everybody.